I picture Avenged Sevenfold sitting around like, you know, this could be our longest album to date, but how are we gonna top City of Evil? And, you know, somebody in the band just throws out, what if we put a longer interlude on the longest song on the album? Yes, yes, I like it, yes, and here we have a 73-minute heavy metal album. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the 7th studio album, The Stage, by heavy metal band Avenged Sevenfold. It was a surprise release, it leaked online a few days ahead of time, but it's their first for Capitol Records, and it is their longest album to date. This time around we see the band exploring thoughts of space and continuum and just the future of society and our world in general. They seem to be very politically and scientifically driven, and I'm not going to say that all of their points necessarily get driven home, but it is nice to see them passionate about something, maybe something different than what most metal bands seem to be getting aggressive and passionate about, and it doesn't always play out in their favor, but I'm going to say right now that I do respect it, and of course, and by a landslide, it is better than songs like Planets off of Hail to the King. Come on. Their Death Bat logo was getting projected on buildings all over the place leading up to the release of the single of the same name, The Stage, an epic 8-minute tune that I gave a track review for, and if you did not see that, I will link it down below along with my reviews of City of Evil and Hail to the King. It was an epic tune that just really saw all sorts and variations of Avenged Sevenfold playing into one song. I love the riffs on that one. I thought the vocals from Shadows, while some were complaining about them, I thought they were really solid, and while he does stray from that on different parts of this album, there's more kind of like flatlining and monotone moments where I just wish that he would howl or break into it a little bit more. This is one of those songs that stands tall in that regard. If you guys did not know, the band lost their original drummer, the Rev, Jimmy Sullivan, back in 2009. The band really lost a chunk of themselves with that, and they did put out the Nightmare album in 2010 just after that, but it was a weird time for the band. They were really struggling with some things, and that was seen on tunes like So Far Gone, and they recorded that album with Mike Portnoy, formerly of Dream Theater, and that was a big thing there. A lot of people thought that he was going to be the permanent drummer, and then of course they brought in the young drummer Aaron Ilje, who was fired abruptly from the band in 2014, wasn't officially announced though until 2015, and now another drum change. This is the first album with former Bad Religion drummer Brooks Wackerman, and he does a fantastic job. All around, it's a step up from Hail to the King. The musicianship, even the lyrical content for the most part, I just didn't care for that last album that much. Honestly, feeling a 2.5, 3 at best on it at this point. But this time around, I see that they're putting forth more of the energy and effort, bringing back some of their more classical styles, not necessarily screaming or anything like that, but the way that the riffs are just created and feel pretty unique and vintage in a way Avenged Sevenfold. One thing I think fans will instantly notice about The Stage is that it's very experimental in a way for Avenged Sevenfold. It definitely has a lot of variety to it. There's many different styles. They bring in outside instrumentation. I mean, you go all the way from the epic and raw The Stage to the more just orchestrally driven Roman Sky, and you're wondering, where did all of this inspiration come from? And honestly, it is a concept album, so it lies within that. M. Shadows, the lead singer of this band, was talking with the guys, talking about just all of nanobots, all of the technology, what could be our future, society in general, and he was like, let's make an album out of this. And I definitely see these songs as pertaining to that, but obviously some of them could be construed and taken many different ways. There's different interpretations for them. I take it pretty on the head with some of them just because it's pretty hard to avoid, and I can't say that the lyrical content is my favorite thing about this record. In fact, it's kind of weak in places, and like I said, Shadows' voice, it just feels a little bit too toned down and flat in places, and I don't think the percussion and just really the instrumentals in general always do it justice. Some of these songs have weird transitions from verse to chorus, and I see that as being a bit jarring in places, especially on ones like Creating God or even Simulation, and that one I do like. That one's grown on me a whole lot, but Creating God in particular, it just feels more like a stale Avenged Sevenfold song that I've heard too many times. Even though this album is conceptually driven, there is an idea and a story arc. I suppose, connecting all of these songs. Some of them do feel much more personal to M. Shadows and maybe even the band in general. I think of the song Simulation, for example. It feels a little bit personal to Shadows himself because he says, "I've worn the shades for so long, I've forgotten how to see." I do enjoy how fierce that song is, but it really does seem to pertain to him. I like the aggressive vocals on that one. It sees him standing out a bit more, and kind of the rapid guitars on that one. It kind of reminds me of the fact, you know, how it has those jutting transitions there. It reminds me of Green Day's Somewhere Now on their most recent album, which I called back to The Who. It's something that you see them having these short bursts of energy, and obviously here it's worked in with some of the overlaid chatter, something that we see all throughout the stage. You see it automatically on that title track. I called that out in my track review, saying that I like that aspect there, but it does get a bit aggravating as we see that all throughout. We see that on Simulation, and then we see someone kind of going through like a mental breakdown as maybe there's riots in the streets, they're being hauled into this hospital. What is going on with the world in general? It's all in chaos, and they're living out this kind of futuristic dream of where they think things are heading on Simulation. And it's one that is kind of hard to get a grip on just because it is all over the place, but I'm liking it more and more the more I listen to this album. Goddamn speaks of a similar futuristic society. It has that furious guitar intro on the track, very Muse-esque in a way, especially once we get to that solo, before breaking it back down to this kind of weird, almost Spanish influence, something that reminds me of something like Bulls in the Bronx by Pierce the Veil. Just kind of that Spanish-led guitar that's acoustic before transitioning back into the electric, fusing the two together before getting back into the final chorus. I do like this song. It's one of the shortest on this thing. I think it actually is the shortest song on here, the only one clocking in less than 4 minutes. That's very short by metal and Avenged Sevenfold standards, but it really does get the job done. I'm enjoying that one, and even elements of the track that comes before that, Sunny Disposition. That one, I should say, has turned into one of my top favorites. It's one of the most varied and dramatic pieces on the entire album. It's a bit manic to an extent because of the presentation here. The guitar tones are really sounding quite wicked on this one, but the lyrical style and the outside instrument arrangements, yeah, that's really what's starting to twist expectations on this one. But Johnny's bass, Johnny Christ, has the best bass line on this thing, I swear. It kind of creeps up on you. It's one of the creeping elements that's just like the snake lurking in the grass, and then it pounces, and you see that it was there all along, but it got you. As an album, the stage can't seem to quite balance out on the scale which side is going to win in the long run, the heavy tendencies or the more melodic ones. And as far as the slower songs go, we've got ones that I already mentioned, Roman Sky. I really like the orchestral arrangements on that one. It's one that does feel very familiar in a way because it's nothing new to the band that they have these grandiose expectations and ideas, but it's new in the way that they arrange the song. Cut in those guitar riffs. I love the solo on them. It's just really reaching the climax as an album at this point. It's really, really captivating to listen to, very enthralling as we listen to the shrill of the guitars and the choir-style backing vocals. And I see that not only in this track, but they're reaching for that kind of sultry, slower song that also has just a very steady rhythm to it on a song like Angels. That's one that sees Wackerman, Brooks Wackerman, formerly of Bad Religion, of course, just doing a really steady, driving drum rhythm on the track. And we see all throughout here, he's capable of using those double bass pedals, capable of pulling off both fast and slow styles, and it's clear that he has communication with this band and that he helped with the writing process as well. I love that they've got a former punk drummer on here because he's capable of handling these songs, whether they be furious or slow, and he still adds something to them. But I have to praise him, especially on this track, a slower song that is a little bit dull in terms of the guitar and the vocals, but I feel like the drums do get a chance to shine here, maybe more so than some of the other tracks where they do feel a bit buried. Angels focuses more on the melodic tendencies of the band. It's focused around a guitar, and those melodies don't go away as the solo from Sinister Gates rolls in. I like his solo on this one. He does a great job of layering in his guitar there. That's really just soaring on that one, and it's obviously the primary focus here, but Shadows also has a role in this. He's kind of got the buried vocal approach going on, and of course some of the other instruments that continue to add to the song's melody. It keeps the original structure of the song playing in the background. Shadows seems very intently focused on what's up above, exploring the cosmic universe, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Obviously their tendencies have pointed to the sky, maybe even on the last album, and we definitely see it here. There's many references to just really looking up to the heavens, questioning things, what's going on, and that plays into tracks like Fermi Paradox, of course, questioning what is going on up there, and of course the final song Exist, where they bring on none other than Neil deGrasse Tyson. That is one of the most epic moments on here, and regardless of how I feel about the first part of this song, I love that they're kind of flexing, so to speak, showing off their skills. All of the instrumentalists in this band are doing their thing, really just going hard in the first 5 minutes or so of the final song Exist. But then we get to that interlude, the guitar slowly cuts back in. We see a kind of mediocre, honestly, at best, vocal performance from Shadows. It's definitely not my favorite aspect of the song, but that finally gives way to a synthesizer drum-led outro where the drumming is just fantastic. I think Wackerman does a great job here, just adding that in with the unexpected synth twist and obviously the steady driving guitar that's in the background, and then they work in that speech from Mr. Tyson himself. I love it. It's just worked in there so well. I didn't expect it to fit. It's clear that the band didn't just set out to make a heavy metal album here. They had a concept, they had an idea, they have a message, and obviously they have a point with the instrumentation as well. We see that all the way from tracks like Higher, where they open it up with kind of a hazy organ and piano-led thing, and then they vary that on tracks like Exist and Roman Sky with the whole orchestral thing. Even Paradigm, I mean, it's got a stuttered riff-centric intro. It's a little bit different for the band before these thrashing and aggressive drums come on. It just seems like it's centered not only on this track, but really all throughout the change within oneself and the change within the world around us and the possible things that we have coming up. In a way, it's like a long episode of Black Mirror because we see technology's effect on our world. I don't know, as a whole, I'm definitely not loving every song on here. There's definitely moments that feel dull for me, but there's also ones that have extremely lively and just entertaining, captivating moments. Even some of the slower songs have those for me. So I'm kind of torn on this. I hope you guys will leave your thoughts in the comment section down below because I feel like this is going to be a really interesting one to discuss with you guys. Me personally, I'm going to go with a 3.5 for Avenged Sevenfold's 7th album, The Stage. I hope you guys enjoyed my review today. Be sure to leave a like on this video to let me know that you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future reviews. If you want to check out another Avenged Sevenfold video I did or a recent review, you can check out those annotations below me, and other than that, you can check me out on social media over here. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. The links are in the description. I will see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.